This has to be one of the most overrated books I've read. King of Wrath is my first time reading contemporary romance, and honestly, I found it a little boring. It's a good book, it's a good romantic story, but yeah, a little boring for me. Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Dawn, and today we are reviewing King of Wrath by Anna Huang. Now, before we get into the review, if you are new to the channel, you're just in time for a new dawn. I've decided to explore the world of books, and this is officially my first ever book review. So grab yourself a coffee or a tea, whatever you want, get comfortable, and let's make this a cozy little ride because I have a lot to say about this book. King of Wrath is the first book of a series by Anna Huang known as King of Sins. Yeah, so there are seven sins and there are seven books. This is the first one. Let's start with the basic premise. King of Wrath follows Vivian Lau, the younger daughter of Francis Lau. Now, Francis Lau is a businessman who has recently made his fortune and is now trying to establish his family among the elite. They are called the new money rich people. And of course, what better way to secure that position than by marrying your daughter off to one of the most powerful men in the room? Yes, there comes Dante Russo. Now, Dante Russo is our male lead. He is a billionaire CEO and apparently has just two hobbies. He is extremely rich and controlling. Marriage, however, is not on his list. He doesn't want to get married. But he is forced into this engagement with Vivian after being blackmailed, and suddenly he finds himself tied to the daughter of a man he doesn't particularly like. Yeah, Francis is the one blackmailing him. Now, Vivian, on the other hand, has her own reasons for going along with this arrangement. Her family wants to climb higher into the high society, and this marriage could give them exactly the status they are looking for. So, we have a billionaire who wants nothing to do with this marriage, and a woman who's suddenly being pushed into becoming his wife. You can understand the tension. Both of them doesn't want to get married, but yes, they are in a situation because of Vivian's parents. Now, what starts as a strategic arrangement slowly turns into something neither of them expected. Yes, your beautiful love story. They fall in love, and this is what this book is about: how they fall in love, how their journey goes from being forced into an arrangement to them getting married and wanting to be with each other. We get to know about the challenges that comes into their relationship, how they overcome those challenges, and overall it's a nice cute story. The story starts with our FMC Vivian. She is at a fundraiser. She is an event planner and she is taking care of everything going on there at the fundraiser. This fundraiser is about piping plovers, endangered bird species, and she's taking care of the event. She spots a guest trying to steal those gift bags. So she asks her assistant to take care of the guest and quietly goes to replace that bag. When she's replacing it, she hears some buzz, and that buzz is because Dante Russo, our MMC, the male main character of the story, he is there at the fundraiser. Now, everyone is excited to see him because he never attends these fundraiser and all. And naturally, Vivian also gets curious and is able to see a glimpse of him. He is tall, broad, and has dark hair. That's all Vivian sees. After this, she gets a call from her dad, Francis Lau, and he tells her that there is this dinner meeting and you have to be there. Now, Vivian says that I am at a fundraiser right now. This is my job because she has a business as an event planner. So she is at her job right now. So she tells her father that, what's so important? Why are you calling me? So her father says that this is a dinner meeting and we have to discuss something very important. This gives Vivian a lot of stress because yes, they are rich, and the dinner meeting means that something big is going to happen. So the next day she goes there to her father's house, and there is a whole dinner meeting. Her mom is criticizing her for the way she's dressed up, even though she is dressed up the way she likes it, like wearing plain clothes and not even wearing her favorite red lipstick. Yeah, Vivian, I really like Vivian. She is so amazing. I love her character. She is funny, she is bold. She has this weird sense of humor that is sarcastic, and I really, really liked her character. It's very well written. In all this, her father tells her that we have arranged your marriage with a very rich person, and basically, he is very rich. Now, they are new money people, like, they don't have generational money. Francis Lau, that is Vivian's father, has worked so much and he has worked hard to progress his business and become how they are. So they are rich. They are rich, obviously. She is an heiress, but she does not have that generational money status. So her father, in order to get that status, because whenever they go to these parties and all, they are looked down upon because they don't have generational money. They are not old money rich, they are new money rich. Oh god, this was so ridiculous. It was like rich people having rich people problems. So there is a class system between the rich, and yes, the ones who have this old money, they have generational money, are considered to be higher in status than the people who have new money, like the Loves. Now, for this, Francis, he has two daughters. One is Agnes, Vivian's elder sister, and the second daughter is Vivian. So Agnes is married to this royalty in the kingdom of Eldora. Yeah, there's some kingdom in Europe. I don't know. We don't get a map, it's just a kingdom in Europe. And its name is Eldora. It's a made up name. And Agnes is married to a royalty. His name is Gunnar. Now, Francis is able to gain some status because his elder daughter is married to a royalty. His next goal is to marry his younger daughter to another person who has a good status. He tells Vivian that your future husband is going to arrive soon. And Vivian is shocked. She's like, you did not tell me that he will be here for dinner. So Francis said, it doesn't matter. He will be here for dinner, so you behave. Seriously? I mean, let her eat the food. Ask her if she is tired. She has been working. No, I don't like the parents at all. Her mom is criticizing her. That, what are you wearing? How are you talking? Why are you eating this, that, this, that? And then the father is like, okay, I have arranged your marriage. And Vivian, she has to agree to all these terms. She has to respect her parents because she has this gratitude that my parents did a lot for us. If I do not agree to what they are saying, they might disown me, and I don't want that. So she agrees. She's like, yeah, fine, this future husband, let's meet him. Now, in the next chapter, we get to see Dante's point of view, and he is entering the house. He sees Vivian. He's not impressed at all. Now, he likes how beautiful she is, but then again, in his mind, he is like, I don't like her because she is Francis Lau's daughter, and the way Vivian is dressed up is very plain. She just looks like any other heiress. Boring. So Dante does not like it. He's just sitting there. He's not very happy to be there. Vivian picks up on this, but still Vivian doesn't say anything. Now Dante and Francis Lau, they are discussing about the marriage details and all. Vivian is not saying anything. She's just sitting there like a doll. That's what Dante says. That she's just sitting there like a doll, and it's boring. He doesn't like it because he doesn't want to get married. Now, here comes his internal monologue. We get a glimpse of the past, that how he was trapped in this marriage. So, what happens is Dante has a brother, Luca. Luca is 31 years old, Dante is 36 years old. And Dante says that Luca likes to party a lot and he acts like he's 21 years old and he messes around a lot. And Dante has to take care of all the things and all the mess he makes. So, this Luca, he goes to a party somewhere on a yacht or something, And there he gets cozy with the mafia's niece. Now this mafia's name is Romano, and his niece and Luca, they get cozy. Yeah. I don't have a correct word for YouTube. Oh god. So Francis sees this and he takes pictures of them doing the deed. Now Romano is a dangerous mafia, and Dante Russo, even though he's a powerful CEO and everything, he is scared of Romano. Everyone is scared of Romano. But I really do not understand that this Romano is such a big mafia and he doesn't want his niece to be with any man or something like that, right? What was his security doing when his niece, Maria, the name of the niece is Maria, and when his niece Maria was with Luca, what was their security even doing? Huh? They were not able to catch it, and Francis was able to take pictures. Whatever, this Francis, one fine day, he comes to Dante's office and threatens him that if you want to save Luca from Romano, marry my daughter. If you do not marry her, I will give these pictures to Romano and your brother will die. Because Romano will kill any man who gets near his niece, Maria. Well, Luca was able to do more than just get near. Yeah, so Luca is in problem. Dante does not have any other choice other than to accept this offer and agree to marry Vivian. This is how Dante is trapped by Francis into this marriage. He calls Luca, asks him, and Luca says that he is in love with Maria. Well, Dante, because he's very angry and he is trying to control his anger so that he doesn't end up killing his brother for all the mess he made, Dante tells his brother Luca that he's cutting his expenses, his allowance. Yeah, his allowance. He's cutting his allowance by half, and that Luca has to work in one of their stores. Also, Luca cannot talk to Maria at all. He cannot contact her. He has to break all the contacts with Maria. Cut to the present time, Dante excuses himself from the table and starts roaming in the house. He says that he wants to go to the washroom, but he starts roaming in the house and finds his way to Francis' office. Obviously, Francis is not going to keep his photos in the office. That's what Dante also thinks. But he sits on Francis's chair and opens his drawer and finds a cigar. Just as he's about to lit the cigar, Vivian comes in and she asks, "What are you doing here?" And Dante, well, he starts checking her out. Yeah. I mean, this man, he's so irritating. Yes, I find Dante irritating. Sorry. He's really irritating. He's rude. He doesn't even know who Vivian is, but he's just rude towards her. I don't like it. Well, he is checking her out, and even though she's dressed plainly, he's able to make out her curves, and then he just lets a cigar. Well, Vivian says that I know, I can see that you don't want to get married, whatever the deal between you and my father is, but it's rude to leave the dinner table like this. So he says, "What are you going to do about it?" And then we see there is some tension. He moves closer to her and holds her lower lip, and he's just trying to rub his thumb over there. Vivian is standing there. There is some kind of tension, if you can understand. Now, this is where Dante says that I really like her lips. Somehow he likes her. Yeah, and he can make out her curves, and even though she is dressed plainly and has a nude color on her lips, but still he just wants to bruise them. He wants to kiss her and bruise them. How horny this man is. Like seriously, he's so horny. Oh god. But then he just leaves her and Vivian is standing there. Okay, I did find this awkward because whenever someone gets close to you, I mean, you just met him, but Vivian doesn't react to his touch at all. She doesn't remove his hand or anything. They're just staring at each other. And so, I don't know. I just did not like this scene that much. Yes, there is tension. Yes, Dante is checking her out, but Vivian, she just stands straight. Maybe because the scene is from Dante's POV, we do not get to know what Vivian is thinking. Now they go back to the dinner table, and the father, Francis, he says that Vivian has to move in to Dante's house. Again, this shocks Vivian, but she does not react. And Dante also is like, okay, fine, you can move in because they are going to get engaged. Francis says that they should get married within 2 or 3 months. But because Dante has to find some info on Francis, save his brother, he decides to find all the pictures, the photographs which Francis has, and all the backups which Francis has, and he wants to destroy them. So he postpones the wedding. He says that we should act in front of the society, even though this is arranged marriage. We have to act that we are in love, him and Vivian. So that is why it's better to postpone the marriage and show it to people that we are dating, so that people do not get into rumors that they got married for a business deal. The dinner scene gets over, and we get to know Dante has a friend. You can say a friend, yeah, Christian. Now, this Christian is supposed to be the head of a cyber security company, and he's also a hacker something. And this Christian is actually a main character of Anna Huang's Twisted series. Twisted Lies is the book, and Christian is the main character of that series. And I really like this because there is a whole Anna Huang universe. In her books, she introduces characters, and those characters have a book of themselves. So it's just like a whole Anna Huang universe. I liked it. So Christian is from the Twisted series, Twisted Lies, and he is here helping Dante to get those photos, the ones which Francis has, and destroy all the evidence about the brother. He actually does not want to marry Vivian. He's just trying to stall for the time being so that he could find the evidence, destroy it, and even destroy Francis Lau's business. Because he's a Russo, so he has to show it to Francis that he cannot mess with the Russo, something like that. This was the whole thing. Next, we get to Vivian's point of view. Now, Vivian is sitting in a bar with her two friends, Sloane and Isabella. Sloane and Isabella also have their own books. Yeah, like I said, the characters have their own book. So Sloane and Isabella also have their own separate books. Sloane works in PR. She's a PR manager, and Isabella is a writer. She writes erotic murder mystery. Nice. And she works part-time jobs. So both of them are not as rich as Vivian is, but they are all friends, and they are sitting there talking about Dante. Sloane is pretty much impressed by Dante because Dante's security once caught someone and broke his arms and legs. Sloane is pretty much impressed by Dante and his security somehow. Isabella, she just likes this whole trope of arranged marriage, so she's excited. So they are talking about Dante. Since the marriage is announced, Dante and Vivian has not talked to each other. They have not messaged each other, and they have not been in contact at all. So the friends, both of them say that you should talk to him because you have to move into his house then next week. How are you going to do that if you don't talk to him? Vivian says, no, it's okay. I'll talk to him. I'll just send him a message or something. But Sloane, she gets to know that there is an exhibition in Dante's house where Vivian has to move. So this exhibition is there because Dante has a collection of some really expensive arts and all, and he is holding an exhibition. But he did not invite Vivian. Vivian is supposed to be his fiance, but he did not invite her. So the friend says that you should go and crash the party. Vivian says, no, no, I'm not going to go. And the friend says, it's up to you. You can always go there, see the house yourself. You should take initiative and go and check the house because this is really rude of Dante to not invite you. You are his fiance. Well, Vivian dismisses them, and the scene ends. In the next scene, we see that Vivian is there at the party arguing with the security. She's saying that even though I am not invited, you have to let me in. I am his fiance. Now, the security obviously doesn't know, so they are not allowing her in, and they are arguing with her, saying that even though you are his fiance, we don't care. You are not on the list. You will not be invited get inside. Now, someone with a very nice British accent. His name is Kai, by the way, and he is supposed to be Dante's friend, and he also knows Vivian because Vivian, we all know, is an event planner, and she knows Kai. Vivian describes him as very handsome and has a British accent. I will be honest, I'm telling you, I am quite attracted by Kai. And Kai is also the main character of the second book of this series, King of Pride. So, yeah, I'm kind of interested in him because obviously, who can resist a charming man with a British accent? Whatever. Kai is Dante's friend, so he's obviously invited to the exhibition, and he tells the security that Vivian is his plus one because he has the invite and he is allowed to bring a plus one. He tells the security that Vivian is his plus one. So this way Vivian is able to get into the party, roams around the house and finds Dante. Dante, when he sees her, he loses his mind. To quote Dante, oh God, how will I quote it? Wait. Well, Dante, in his own words, heat ran to his groin. Yeah, he says this. He used this word. Oh God, why would you say it? It was so cringe. Yeah, but he just sees her and she looks beautiful. She is not her plain self like he saw her the first time. She is wearing a silk outfit again that brings out her curves, and she has a beautiful red lipstick. So, in reality, Vivian is bored, like I said. And she's very beautiful. She has a flawless skin. Dante describes it as cream on silk. Yeah, I know. Some of the phrases in this book are really cringe, but yeah, okay. Her skin is flawless, and Dante describes it as cream on silk. He's standing so close to her, and she smells like fresh apples. Vivian asks him that, why didn't you invite me? Dante, being Dante, he does not answer nicely. He's rude to her again. But yes, in his heart, he just loves the way she looks and appears. Vivian, she stands strong. She tells him, I want all the details because I have to move into this house. So I want all the details by tomorrow afternoon. And I don't want to hear all your nonsense. Yeah, she is bold, and Dante likes it. Because when he met her the first time, she didn't say anything. She was the perfect heiress. She was agreeing with her parents. She was nice. She was wearing plain clothes and she did not have that much makeup. But tonight at the exhibition, she looked different. She was bold. She looked beautiful. She had that red lipstick on, and he's kind of attracted to her lips. We all know that. Like he's lot attracted to her lips. He sends her the details and she starts to move in and brings cookies for the staff. The staff is happy that Vivian is coming to live with them and they all like her immediately. Well, Dante gets jealous. I really found him cute in this scene. He's like, okay, she even brought cookies for them. I will say I really like when the stories apply this template of Beauty and the Beast. The father does something, because of that, the daughter has to go and live in the beast's house. The beast obviously does not like the daughter, but the staff they hype it up. So I really like this template whenever it's applied into romance books, and our author plays it very well in this. So Dante, you can call him the beast. He's angry, always angry, rude to Vivian, and Vivian moves into his house. The staff likes her. There is a 70-year-old housekeeper. Her name is Greta, and she even likes her. And she tells Dante that you have to take care of the girl, don't be rude to her, blah blah blah. Well, Dante, we all know he is rude because he doesn't want to get married to her. He does not hate her, but yes, in his heart, he is like, she is a Lau, she is Francis Lau's daughter. So obviously, she has his blood, she has to be like him, and he does not like her. He tells her that this is your room. Now they have separate rooms. Dante makes sure that she does not share a room with him, and they have separate room. They are far away. And Vivian asks him that what about the staff? So Dante says, my staff won't speak anything. I have trust on my staff, so don't worry about the rumors. This is your room. You will find your ring there, wear it. Yeah, he doesn't even put the ring on her hand. He's so bad. She goes inside the room. Obviously, she's feeling a little gloomy, but she puts the ring on. It's a beautiful 6 carat ring, or 5 carat ring, or 4 carats. It's a diamond ring. Yes. She puts it on, and then the dinner scene comes. She is trying to talk to Dante, trying to ease the situation, trying to ease the atmosphere, make small talk. But Dante, again, he doesn't respond nicely. He's cold to her, and he tells her that he's going to a business trip for a month. Now, again, Vivian does not like it because she just moved in. Right? But Dante is leaving for a month. So she's like, you're leaving for a month? I just moved in. We are supposed to be newly engaged. So he says, no, I have work. I have to go. And he leaves for a month. After a month, Dante comes back. Now they are at this engagement photo shoot. So they want to publish into the tabloids and all the society papers that Dante Russo and Vivian Lau is engaged now. So for that, they are doing a photo shoot. This photographer, her name is Winona, and she is clicking photos. And Dante, again, because he's so close to Vivian, he is having feelings, all the feelings and all. And Vivian, there is also some tension. And on top of that, this photographer says that you have to kiss. Now, obviously, Vivian is awkward because they have never kissed and all. So Vivian says, no, we don't like public display of affection. But Winona is like, no, how couldn't you kiss? It won't look good. Come on, you should look like you are in love. And this photographer and Vivian, both of them, they are going back and forth. Well, in all this, Dante pulls her and kisses her. Like, he just doesn't say anything. He just pulls her and kisses her. And then the kiss goes on. He kisses her, photo clicks, but still the kiss goes on. The kiss goes on. He's not able to pull back. He just likes it so much. He's not able to control his instincts. All this is by Dante's POV. And then Winona, the photographer, she has to shout to break the kiss that, okay, okay, we got the pictures. Like I told you, he is so horny. Like, seriously, he is always checking out her curves, always checking out her lips, always checking out her skin. He is so horny. He's definitely attracted to Vivian because she is very beautiful. They both are not saying anything and really awkward, and they move out of there. Now Vivian tries to make conversation, and she starts with about the kiss. Dante cuts her off and goes to this bagel stall whose owner's name he knew. The owner's name is Omar, who's making the bagels and all. And Vivian is quite shocked to see that you are on first name basis with the stall owner. And he says, what do you think of me? Yes, obviously, I run in the morning, and that is why my usual breakfast is this bagel. So Vivian is impressed. She's like, okay, he's not your usual rich guy who just eat rich breakfast and all. He can be normal. They start talking. They have a moment where Dante shares about him and Luca as children, because Vivian shares about her and her sister. So they are having this moment. Dante tells her that we used to go to this milkshake shop with Luca, and we used to have fun there when we were kids. So they're having a cute moment after the kiss. And Dante is not able to understand why is he even sharing this all with her, but they are having a moment, and it's a cute moment after all the coldness and everything which Vivian and Dante has to go through for the past 1 month since their marriage was fixed. Well, they are having a moment, but this Dante is so irritating. Before leaving for the business trip, that 1 month business trip, he gives Vivian his black Amex and says, whatever you want to buy, you can buy. Now, when he comes back, the house looks a little changed. There are flowers everywhere. Vivian has bought some things from that black Amex. which he gave, and he does not like it. He was really irritated by Vivian changing his house and his things. Yeah. So at this stall, at this moment, they were having a moment. They were having nice talk. They were trying to connect. He was opening up, even though he did not want to open up, but he opens up to Vivian, and then he just snaps. Yeah, Dante snaps. He ruins the moment. He says, "We are going to Bali." Now Vivian says, "Why are we going to Bali?" So he says, "Because my parents are there in Bali, so we are going to Bali for Thanksgiving." And Vivian is again shocked. She's like, "Okay, you did not discuss this with me that we are going to another country for Thanksgiving." And he says, "Well, I don't need to discuss. I gave you my Amex and you bought all these things from that. So, yeah, whatever I say will happen." Seriously? Because she spent your money, now you are going to own her or something? Well, Vivian does not like it. She does not like it. She clearly says that I don't like it. You don't own me or anything. Even though I spent your money, that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. And by the end of this scene, she gives him a check of this $1,000. She doesn't spend a lot of money though. Even though she has the black Amex, she does not spend like a lot of it. She just spends $1,000 because she wanted to change some things, bring some flowers, buy a dress for this photo shoot and all, but she returns it back. Yes, that is why I like Vivian. She is such a strong woman. I really like Vivian. She has her own business, she has her own money. She really does not need to marry. Her parents does not understand it. It's so irritating. But yeah, she returns the money back and Dante feels bad. Yeah, he feels bad. He's like, "Okay, I shouldn't have done this." And then next day he's with his friend Kai. Next, we see Dante visiting a club. This is a club for the elite. It's known as Valhalla Club. Yeah, I'm not good with pronunciation, sorry. This is the club where all the elites go to spend some quality time. So Dante is boxing with his friend Kai. Now Kai congratulates him on his engagement and Dante does not answer. So Kai is able to make out that this is not a love affair because he asked Dante, "How did you fall in love with Vivian?" So Dante does not answer anything. So Kai is able to understand that this is kind of a business arrangement, but still he says that Vivian is a nice girl, so you should consider this and treat her nicely like she deserves. Now, Dante gets jealous of this. Yes, he gets jealous of Kai. It's such a cute moment. And he says, "I will treat my fiance the way I want. She is my fiance. You don't have to worry about it." Now, Kai, as I said, he's very mysterious, and I don't know why I am attracted to him so much. He just smiles. After this, we see Vivian visiting her favorite flea market. Now, as you remember, Vivian and Dante they kissed during the photo shoot. The photographer was insisting that they should have a kiss for the photo shoot, and yes, the kiss went long. So Vivian is thinking about it. Her mind is on that kiss. Of course, she liked it. She is there with her friend Isabella. Isabella is talking about some things, but yeah, Vivian is just lost. Her mind is on that kiss. Just when Isabella is seeing some things to buy from the flea market, an unexpected encounter happens with Vivian. Her ex boyfriend, her ex boyfriend named Heath. I don't know why. Oh god. But yeah, he appears out of nowhere. Now, this ex boyfriend also has a backstory. So, he and Vivian really liked each other, but obviously, he was not a rich person. So, Vivian's father rejected him, and because of that, Vivian broke up with Heath. Now, Heath is your typical blonde guy, and he went to California, and over there he opened his cloud business something just to prove to Francis, Vivian's father, that he can also become rich. And in order to prove this, he opens up a good business, and now he is visiting New York where Vivian is. So he just comes out of nowhere. I mean, Vivian is not expecting him. Vivian is thinking about her kiss with Dante, right? And he comes out of nowhere. Now they sit, have some chat. And this Heath, he says that if you want to get back with me, you can consider. So Vivian tells him that Vivian is engaged and she is not interested. And inside also, Vivian is thinking about it, that yes, she used to love Heath, but now she doesn't feel anything for him. And there is this confusion inside Vivian's head, that what is this happening? I used to love him, I was attracted to him, but now she doesn't have any kind of emotions. And Heath does not take it nicely, because he also is able to understand that this engagement is some kind of arranged thing between Dante and Vivian. So he does not take it nicely, and he still insists that if you want, I am here for you. My business is doing good, so yeah, we can get back together. But Vivian, she straight up says no. She's not interested. Okay, the girl is thinking about her kiss with her new fiance. Come on, get lost. I really do not like this ex boyfriend at all. I know that yes, Francis treated him badly and all, but now she's engaged. She's not interested in you. Get lost. He still messages her and everything. Oh god, so irritating. Then we get to the engagement party. So Dante and Vivian are having an engagement party at their house. Everyone is there. Now Dante's parents does not come. It's so sad, but Luca is there. And again, Vivian and Dante, they are acting in front of people like a very nice couple and in love, and everyone is happy. Vivian's mom is there, and her father is also at the engagement, and they both are still criticizing her. I mean, come on, leave her. And the party goes on as it should. Dante and Vivian are acting like a nice couple, as they should. Now after this engagement party, Vivian is hungry. Everyone is gone and they should be sleeping, but it's midnight and she cannot sleep because she's hungry. So she goes into the kitchen and starts searching for things. Now she has this weird combination of eating chips with pickle and I don't know, chocolate pudding. Yeah, she dips the chips and pickle in chocolate pudding. And Dante also has this weird kind of, I mean, it's weird when you think about it. He puts soy sauce on ice cream and then eat it. So she's in the kitchen searching for it, and Dante appears, and Vivian is all shocked, like, why is he here? And when Dante asks her, she's all startled and says that I'm just searching for Pringles, plain, right? I don't like plain Pringles at all. She is searching for it, and Dante gives it to her. So there is this moment where he is behind her and they are almost touching, and he opens the cupboard and takes out those Pringles and gives it to her. Oh my god, that was so good. I really like these moments between Dante and Vivian. The tension is amazing. Now she lays out her snacks and Dante is judging her. So she just answers that, what, I like this, I'm going to eat it. So Dante takes out his snack, that is ice cream and soy sauce. And yeah, they both are just judging each other's snacks. So Vivian suggests that, okay, fine, you taste mine and I'll taste yours. So Vivian and Dante, they swap those snacks. So Dante is going to eat the chips along with pickle and chocolate pudding, and Vivian is going to eat the ice cream with soy sauce. Yeah. So surprisingly, both of them like the combination. And here I am reading this and thinking, no, no, both combinations are weird. You don't eat it like this. But still, they both like it. And there is again this moment where they are not fighting. Dante is not hating Vivian, and Vivian is not awkward around Dante. Again, Dante is sharing his childhood memories with Luca and telling Vivian that he and Luca used to come up with all this because the chef used to let them hang out in the kitchen. So, yeah, they came with this combination of food and they are connecting. This is a very cute chapter and they are connecting. Now, after this, Vivian and Dante come to a truce that they are not going to fight anymore and they can talk to each other nicely. That's it. That's the truce they come up with. Now, moving forward, they had their engagement party and now they have to make their debut at the Valhalla Club. Now, this Valhalla Club, again, like I said, is a club of the elites, right? Of course, Dante is a member over there. He has been a member since he was 21 years old. So he's a member. Now, Vivian is not a member of this club. So this is her first time going there. So she is very nervous, but Dante assures her that, okay, don't be nervous. It's going to be okay. Just be yourself and all. And she looks again, she's looking very beautiful. So, yes, of course, Dante is again checking out her curves. Oh god, and her smooth skin, the cream on silk skin. Oh god. So yeah, they go to the club and Vivian is very nice to everyone. She's talking. Now Isabella, remember Isabella? She works there at Valhalla Club. So while Dante is talking to friends and business associates, there's a person named Dominic and he's talking to him. Vivian goes to her friend, sits there on the bar, and she is having a chat with her friend Isabella. So Isabella is kind of pushing her to do the deed with Dante tonight, right? She's saying that, okay, this is it. You have to do it. She is pushing her. And while they are talking, she even suggests that she has strawberry flavored condoms. And Kai listens to it. So Kai is just standing there staring at Isabella, and Vivian is all shy and red. He just comes there to the bar counter and orders strawberry flavored drinks, some drinks. So, yeah, all three of them are in this awkward situation, and Isabella is so like, this is the connection. This is the connection between Kai and Isabella, which I really liked. Because she's all shy. She just goes and starts making the drink because she works at this Valhalla Club. So she goes there and start making the drink all shy. And Kai is just staring her, staring her. Oh God. And I don't know. This was the time when I decided, okay, I am buying the second book. I want to read their story. Yeah, the second book, King of Pride, is about Isabella and Kai. So I am buying this book. So now Isabella is back to her work. Kai is staring her along with talking to Vivian. So now they start talking, and Vivian asks him that, how long have you been here? And he just says, oh, I have been here. And they just starts talking, chatting, and Vivian is smiling because Kai says something which is funny. I don't really remember what he says, but he says something which is funny, and Vivian is smiling. Now, Dante is watching this. Whatever Dominic, his friend, is saying, Dante is not listening to it. Yeah, he's watching it. He's furious that Vivian can smile and giggle with Kai, but not with him. Why is she always so awkward, and why doesn't she smile with him? She is his fiance. Again, he's jealous of Kai. And now, initially, I thought that this Kai would be interested in Vivian and we are going to have some kind of love triangle or something. But thank God, no, we do not have a love triangle. Kai is obviously interested in Isabella because the author mentions it several times through Vivian that Kai is staring Isabella and the intensity of his stare almost feels sexual. Yeah, this is what Vivian says. So, of course, there is something going on between Kai and Isabella, and I am very excited to read about it. Now, Dante, because he's jealous, he goes and interrupts the conversation between Kai and Vivian and just says, okay, I'm going to take my fiance. I need her for a moment. And Kai just smiles. He's very polite and he just says, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Now, Dante is showing her around and they come to a library. Yes, the old library of the Valhalla Club. And okay, because Dante was jealous, he just asked Vivian that, what were you talking about? So Vivian tells him that we were talking about constellations and stars and all. And yes, he was joking, so I was smiling. Well, again, because Dante is jealous and he's a lot possessive, there is a moment between both of them. So yeah, they do not do the deed, but they do some things. It's a spicy moment. And Vivian is all just, okay, what happened? But she likes it. She likes it a lot. Dante likes it a lot, and then they just come back. So this is what happens at their debut party in the Valhalla Club. The spicy scenes, I will say, are good. The smut scenes are good. I am someone who just skips the smut scenes. Yeah, I'm really not interested in them. But I will say, because I had to make a review video, I read it and I liked it. But I will be honest, the dialogues are very cringe. Yeah, I mean, at some point, Vivian says, looking at Dante because he's so tall and broad and really handsome, things are happening to her ovaries. And I was like, ovaries are internal organs. Don't say this. And then that groin thing, which Dante says, this is all a little cringe for me because maybe I am not a smart reader. I skipped the smart scenes. So, yeah, maybe because of that. But I found the dialogues during the whole scene when they are doing the deed, yeah, a little cringe. Now, after this party, both of them finds themselves thinking about each other. Dante is thinking about Vivian, right? Vivian's legs and Vivian's curves and her skin. And Vivian is thinking about Dante all the time. She's even having some dreams, right, about him while Dante is on another trip, a business trip in California somewhere. Now, again, these three friends, Isabella, Sloane, and Vivian, they are at a coffee shop, and then someone by the name Buffy Darlington. Yeah, she's an old lady, 65 years old, something. And she comes there and she is talking to Vivian because there is a legacy ball. This is some kind of an event which one of the elites they host, and it's a ball and it's a big thing. So Buffy Darlington is the chairperson of the committee, something like that. I don't know, rich people, rich things. But the person who was responsible for hosting the legacy ball this year, her husband did something embezzlement or something, and because of that they are in a scandal. So obviously the committee, the legacy ball committee, does not want any scandals. So yeah, they are looking for a new host. Now Vivian, because she is Dante Russo's fiance, this Buffy Darlington, she says that why not you host the ball. So this is like a big thing. Vivian feels honored and she agrees to host the ball. And again, because Vivian is an event planner also, and she has planned some of the events like Buffy Darlington's granddaughter's birthday and all. So Buffy trusts her a lot, and because she is also engaged to Dante Russo, and Russos are really rich and considered to be highest in the status of the elite. All this happens. Buffy wants Vivian to host it, and Vivian says yes. Vivian is honored, she is excited and in a lot of stress, but she says yes. Now, Buffy tells Vivian that it would be really nice if Dante could attend this ball. So Vivian understands that, okay, because the last one had a scandal, the last host, she got into a scandal because of her husband. Now, the committee of this legacy ball wants it to be a big event without any scandal, so they want Dante to attend it. That is why they are reaching out Vivian. So Vivian agrees. She says that she will ask Dante if he could come. Right? After this, Vivian is thinking that because she is engaged to Dante, she should wear something from his company, right? So she goes to one of his stores, Dante Russo store, Lohman and Sons, something like that, to buy some things. And Luca, Dante's brother, is the salesperson there. So this was the job which Luca was given, that you will be a salesperson. Luca does not like Vivian a lot for obvious reasons, but Vivian does not know it. She doesn't know that her father has threatened Dante with the photos and all. She doesn't know all this. For her, this is just a business deal, and because of the business, because Russo's might be interested in jewelry business, that is why Dante wants to marry Vivian. For Vivian, this is the case. She doesn't know the reality yet. So she goes to the store, and Luca is attending her as the salesperson. And Vivian tries to be nice to him. She initiates a conversation. Luca, however, is not rude to Vivian. He is exactly how a salesperson should be. And then in this store, suddenly some robbers come. And there is a robbery, and three robbers come in, and everyone is down on their knees. Luca is asking Vivian to be down on her knees, but she freezes somehow. She's standing there because this is the first time she's seeing a robbery. So one of the robber, he comes close to her and puts a gun on her chin. Nothing really happens. He's not able to hurt her, but he's asking her to sit down on your knees. And Vivian is frozen. She cannot think about anything. She has only seen these robberies and movies and all, but she's not able to think about anything. She is frozen. Well, the situation is contained because the security which was there in the store, they are able to contain the situation, and Vivian is not hurt at all. Now Dante gets to hear about this, and he cancels everything, every deal and all, and rushes back to New York because he is afraid about his brother Luca, and also afraid about Vivian. So all this, when all this is happening, Dante has this inner monologue, and he says, I don't know why, but I have to see if Vivian is okay. If everything is okay with Vivian, I have to see it. And he just rushes. Luca is fine. Then he checks on Luca. Luca is fine. He goes home, and Vivian is not okay. She's not okay. She's not okay at all. She was frozen. She's shocked. But she tries to act in front of him, and Dante understands it. So he just goes and hugs her and tries to comfort her. And Vivian, she just unknowingly starts crying. And then this was such a cute scene. And I was like, oh my god, they are connecting. Dante does not say anything. And Vivian is like, I'm okay, nothing happened. I'm okay, nothing happened to him. But Dante is like, okay, it's okay. And he's just trying to comfort her, and there is this moment between them. It's such a nice moment. Well, then after that, Dante advises her that if she wants, she can consult one of their therapists if she needs help. So she takes up on this advice, and she consults one of their therapists, and then she feels better from all of this. There is this one moment when Dante is home, and she is still sleeping. She's like sleeping till 12 in the noon, and she hasn't eaten anything. So Dante brings it to her and tells her that, okay, Greta made it. I don't care about you, but Greta made it. So this is for you. And then they both have breakfast together. It's a cute moment once again between them. So till now, they were cold to each other, but after these incidents, after the whole Valhalla Club thing, when they got intimate, and then this whole robbery thing, their relationship has started progressing. So much so that when they go to Bali to visit Dante's parents for Thanksgiving, Vivian feels a lot bad for Dante because Dante's parents were not there in his life, and they were always traveling, going on world tours and all, and left both of their sons, Dante and Luca, in the care of their grandfather. And the grandfather, obviously, he just wanted an heir for his business, so he raised Dante accordingly, and that is why Dante is so stern and business minded. Yeah, so she feels bad for it. Then she also opens up to Dante, and both of them again have a moment in Dante's parents' house. Yeah. So this is like an intimate moment once again. And they were just about to do the things, right? The deed, but then Dante stops abruptly. There is again this awkward moment, and both of them just go to sleep. Now, when they come back, Vivian, she initiates a conversation because everything was very awkward, and she tells Dante that you did the right thing to stop then and there because it would have been too soon. So they still have that truce, and now everything is comfortable between Dante and Vivian, and they are not fighting, they are not cold to each other. They had moments, multiple moments now, and yes, they are trying to work on this relationship, but still Dante doesn't want to marry Vivian in reality. He hates Francis for that. He does not hate Vivian now, and he's very confused with his feelings. But still, what he had originally in mind, that he will look for all the photos and look for all the copies of that photos, he will still find them and then destroy Francis and his jewelry business. And obviously, before he was like, then I'm not going to marry Vivian, but now he is thinking about it, that if he does this, if he destroys Francis business like he has originally intended to, Vivian will be angry, and Vivian will obviously leave him. So right now he's in this confusion state, that why do I even care? If she leaves me, why do I even care? But yeah, you care because you like her. He's not accepting his feelings. Over here, if we talk about Vivian, she has accepted her feelings. She's like, okay, I like him. We can make this work. Even though this is an arranged marriage, we can make this work. Now, Dante and Vivian, they chat. They have started talking a lot. They go out sometimes and they have started talking a lot. And Vivian tells her father's lucky number is number 8. This makes Dante interested, and he's like, what do you mean by lucky number is 8? So Vivian is Chinese, so she says that in our Chinese culture, number 8 is considered to be a lucky number to bring wealth and all. Now, this interests Dante a lot because they are trying to find the copies, how many copies he might have, and they are able to find 3 of them, and they don't know how many more he might have. So, when Vivian tells him that her father's lucky number is 8, number 8, and he's very superstitious, Dante is able to come to a conclusion that yes, there might be 8 copies. So he flews to DC to visit Kristen, and there is some business work also, and he is visiting him. They are talking about how many copies it might be, and when he is visiting Kristen, they both come to a conclusion that yes, there are 8 copies, and now all they have to do is destroy those copies and destroy Francis' business also. This is all happening behind the scenes with Dante. Now there is a scene over there when he is visiting Christian. Christian has, I don't know if that is his girlfriend yet or something is happening. Like, that is a girl he likes, and that girl's name is Stella, and Dante kisses Stella on her hand as in greeting her, and this pisses off Christian a lot. So what this person does, he sends a message to Heath, the ex-boyfriend, from Vivian's phone, because he's a hacker, right? He has this cybersecurity business, and he is also a hacker himself. I will read Twisted Lies also. Yeah, I think so. I have to read it to understand Christian's character. Whatever, he sends this message from her. He hacks Vivian's phone and sends this message to Heath, which makes Heath come to Vivian and Dante's house. Yeah, telling her that you sent me a message. You want to meet me and you don't want to be with Dante, something like this. And Christian does this because, yes, Dante, I think so, kisses Stella on the hand, like greeting her. This scene is really I will say I really like this scene because Kristen is like, don't ever touch Stella. Yeah, this is where we get to know, if you have not read Twisted Lies before, this is where we get to know that the girl whom Kristen loves is Stella. He just tells Dante that, yeah, that Heath is in your house right now, and then he says, stay away from Stella. So Dante is like all cussing and all that, okay, F you, Kristen, and he just runs from DC. He is calculating in his mind that there will be a flight for 50 minutes or something, flight, I don't know, 2 hours flight, and then it will take 30 minutes to get to his house. So he has his own jet. Yeah. So he says that might be a 2 hour flight, but with my jet, I can get to New York in 50 minutes, something like that. He's calculating and he's running back home. When he reaches his home, he's just furious that how dare that Heath come to my house and talk to my fiance. Yeah, again, that my fiance and my things are happening, right? And Dante, again, he's not able to understand why he is like that. So this scene is very confusing to him. He is running back home. He goes there and stands in the living room hallway where he hears Vivian saying that I am already engaged. I am not interested in you, Heath. Heath is trying to convince her that you sent me this message. Obviously, the message is not sent by Vivian. So she says that no, it's not sent by me. And then I don't know what happens to Dante. He just goes and beats the hell out of Heath and breaks his nose and just kicks him out of the house. Heath is obviously scared, but he's all trying to be brave and show his bravado. But yes, he is scared. His voice is shaky. And Vivian is all watching this, but again, Vivian stops them and says, no, you're not going to fight, and tells Heath to leave the house. And Heath says, oh, I'm going to sue you. And then Dante says, try, try to sue me. It's a nice scene. He just beats him because he was trying to corner Vivian. Heath was trying to corner Vivian. And Vivian was like, no, I don't like you anymore. I don't have any feelings. So they both start talking, Vivian and Dante. They are shouting at each other, and Dante is like, do you like him? Do you like him? And then Vivian says, it doesn't matter who I like. And then they start kissing. Yeah, yeah, they start kissing and they end up doing the deed finally. And again, I will say, I am sorry. This mud scene is very good. This one is from Vivian's POV. And it's very good. It's nicely written, but the dialogues are so cringy. Oh god. I don't like the dialogues. During the whole intimate scene, Dante says that you are my wife. So Vivian says, I'm not your wife yet. Then Dante is like, no, I don't care. You are mine. And yes, they have a whole time. And when they wake up in the morning, obviously Vivian was trying to leave because of the legacy ball. She had to work and she was like, okay, I'll leave. But Dante stops her and says that we are going to share this room now and we have to talk. We have to work this relationship out. I don't know what is happening to him. I thought you hated them. You do not want to marry Vivian. Then why are you doing this? That is why I don't like Dante. I will say I am not at all attracted towards Dante's character. He is confused as hell. Even though he likes her so much, every time something nice happens, his brain start working that no, Francis did bad to me. No, no, no. And that makes me sad because Vivian over here, she is trying to make this relationship work. She doesn't know anything at all. I think Dante's character could have been explored a little more, but yeah, his character development is there. I'm not going to say it's not there. Yes, at the end you see Dante has changed, but it's not that well written as compared to Vivian's. Vivian changes a lot, right? And you feel bad for Vivian because she doesn't know what her father did, and she's trying to make this relationship work. Well, now, Vivian, who was living in another room, she has shifted to Dante's room, and they are trying to make this relationship work as a couple. They're going on dates, cute dates, and Dante is treating her well. She is preparing for the legacy ball, and Dante asked her to come to Paris because they have some business over there. So he asks her, and at first she says, no, I don't want to go to Paris. I have work, and Legacy Ball will be there in weeks. But Dante insists, and they both go to Paris. They have a great time. They are going on dates, having fun. Now, this is the last night of their Paris trip, and Dante and Vivian are on a date, and they are talking to each other, talking about the future, and having fun. Dante gets a call from Kristen, and Kristen tells him that he has found all of the things, right? All of the evidence that Francis had, digital and the physical also. And now he just asks him that, what do you want me to do? So obviously, destroy the evidence. But remember, Dante also had a plan to destroy Francis' business. So Kristen is asking him, and Dante is not able to speak. He's looking at Vivian, right? She looks very beautiful again. He is contemplating his feelings for her. He's saying that I am in love with her. What if I destroy the business? And Kristen, he knows this. He understands that maybe Dante has fallen in love with Vivian and he does not want to destroy the business. So he asks him again that you have to tell me, you just have to say the word. But think about it, you have to say the word. Dante, yeah, this man at the end of the chapter, he says, destroy him, destroy Francis. I know, he's so irritating. I mean, the evidence was gone. Now you could have just gone with the wedding, but no, you have to be an a hole. Yeah, I will say you have to be an a hole and destroy the business too. Ah, come on. Of course, he does not tell this to Vivian. They come back to their hotel and again they have a very nice intimate scene and Vivian is hopeful that this relationship would work and Dante on the other hand is just scared and just want to have a good time until he has Vivian with him. Yeah, this is what his brain is thinking, that she will go, I will lose her. I don't want to lose her, but yes, I will lose her. So until we are together, we should make the best of it. They come back to New York, and now Dante is very distant to her. Like this is the roller coaster poor Vivian is on. One moment they are having good time in Paris, and the other moment he is cold again. Like he was initially towards her, and she's not able to understand. She brings him breakfast. He doesn't eat with her. She tries to be nice. She tries to talk to him. Again, he is very distant. He sleeps after she is already asleep and he wakes up before she has woken up. So she is not able to talk to him, and Vivian is very confused. At the same time, she is working hard for the legacy ball. Something happens to the venue. There was a water clogging. The venue is flooded because of the rain or something. I don't know. There is flood in the original venue, so she was searching for the venue which Dante offered to host at Valhalla Club. So he was like, okay, I'll get the votes for you and you can host this legacy ball at the Valhalla Club. So that problem was solved. But again, Dante now is very distant towards her and she's confused. She's like, why is this happening? We were having such a good progression in our relationship. Why is this happening? Now, one day she decides to fix this and she buys lunch from his favorite diner, Moondust Diner or something was that. And she buys it from there and brings it to his office. Now, this was the first time she was visiting him unannounced. And she decides that today I'm going to have lunch with him. This is lunchtime. So she goes there and the secretary, she says that he's in a meeting. So she says, okay, I'll wait, no problem. When she goes to that floor where his office room is, she's sitting there waiting and she hears her father. Yeah, the floor is very silent, so she's able to hear her father and Dante. So the father is saying, what did you do? Why did you do it? Do you think I just had these many copies? And Dante is very confidently saying, well, if you had more copies, you wouldn't be here, you would have been to Romano, right? And she hears the real reason why this marriage deal was there. And Dante says, do you think I care about your daughter? So the father, Francis, he is so awful, I will say. He's like, oh, then why haven't you broken up the engagement? Dante doesn't say anything. And Vivian hears all this and she's just not able to process it. She's crying and she runs back to their house. Now, after Francis has left the office, they both are fighting, and Francis has left the office because Dante says that I'm going to call the security and all if you don't leave. So Francis leaves the office all angry, right? And then the secretary comes into Dante's office and says that your fiance was here. And Dante said, what? she was here. Then the secretary says that yes, she was here like 10 minutes ago, but now she's gone. She just ran because she had some work. And Dante is like, oh my god, she heard something. She heard something. He rushes back home and sees Vivian packing her bags. So Vivian is packing her bags and she just confronts him and he tells her everything. Again, he says, I don't know why I'm telling her everything. It doesn't matter. I should not be so affected by this. Well, you love her. That is why you are affected by this. Huh, Dante? It's so irritating. I know. I know. But yeah, Vivian leaves him. Now Vivian goes back to her friend Sloane's house, and Dante is over here and he takes like a 10-day off from his office and he is drinking and he looks really horrible. And the Greta, the housekeeper, she calls Luca. Yeah, so Luca is there, the little brother, and Greta says that I don't know what has happened. He looks like an alien has possessed him. Yeah, this was what they were talking about, Luca and Greta. So Luca comes and talks to Dante. And Luca tells him that he should understand his feelings towards Vivian. Because, yes, he hated her, but living with her, he understood who Vivian is in reality, and maybe he has fallen in love. So, Luca is the one responsible to make Dante realize that he is in love with Vivian. Now, because Luca is working in the sales department as a salesperson and living a normal life like a normal person, not doing drugs or drinking excessively, Luca has changed a lot. He even found a girl who is a yoga instructor, and her name is Leaf Green. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. Her name is Leaf Green. Now, this Leaf Green has changed Luca a lot. So, Dante is again in his monologue and saying that, okay, well, at least it's better. He's not doing drugs. He might become a vegan, but that's okay. Vegans are not bad. I am a vegan. Come on. But yeah, of course, they are Italian, so I can understand it. Luca has become very mature now, and yes, he helps his brother realize it. And Dante is like, yes, I will fight, I will get Vivian back. The legacy ball that day comes, and again, Vivian, she is there at the legacy ball because, yes, she's the hostess. She has broken up with Dante, but still, she is there at the legacy ball and she is attending to the guest that Buffy Darlington, remember? She asks Vivian about Dante. No one else knows that Vivian has broken up with Dante. No one knows. But because she's not wearing the ring, people are doubting. And because the jewelry business, Dante, along with Christian, they spread some rumors about the jewelry business of Francis. So the stocks are going really down. So all these rumors are there still. The Legacy Ball is hosted at the Valhalla Club, and Vivian is hosting it. So, yeah, she's being very graceful as always. Now, Kai comes in and asks her for a dance, and Kai is dancing with Vivian. So, Kai knows that Vivian and Dante has broken up. So, he just says that, okay, if now that you are not with Dante, so would you mind going out with me? Yeah, he's trying to flirt with Vivian. And he's not doing this because he's interested in Vivian. No, he is doing this because Dante again is there at the ball watching them. So Dante comes all possessive and interrupts their dance and just takes Vivian in his arms and says, she is my fiance. And Vivian is staring him. She's like, what are you doing here? Then Dante talks to her. They both are dancing. This is a very nice, cute scene. And Dante is saying, okay, we have to make this work. I love you, Vivian. Vivian does not say it back though. Yeah, she doesn't say it back, but Dante is like, I don't care. I don't care as much time it takes. I really love you and I want to be with you. And it doesn't matter who your father is. I just love you. So, yeah, Vivian is again confused because she loves him too. But whatever Frances did, she hates her father. And then she hates the fact that Dante lied to her. And all this relationship she thought is built on lies. So, Vivian is in a very emotional state and she just says, no, I cannot do it. Now Dante again says, no, we can try. We can try this. Yes, I know things didn't start well, but I love you. The legacy ball is over, right? Everyone saw Dante, so the rumors about them breaking up is not there in the society. People are not talking about their breakup, but people are still talking about Francis. And Vivian, she decides to confront Francis. So she goes back home and confronts her father that why did you do it? Why would you threaten someone? They have a fight, like father is fighting that you cannot disrespect me, blah blah. And then Vivian, she says, no, this is wrong. I am not disrespecting you never thought about me. So this is all the conversation which have Asian parents and their children. Oh god. Now in this conversation, Francis, I hate him. Seriously. He's like, okay, well, whatever happened, you can now ask Dante because he has already destroyed the evidence. So you can now ask him to help me restore my business. I am doing this for the family. And Vivian is like, no, I have broken up with him. But he's still like, no, you go and ask him to help me restore my business. Well, no, yeah, let your business go to hell, Francis. She refuses. She says that I am not going to do it. And you know what he says? He says, I am disowning you. And Vivian is like, yeah, fine, disown me. And she just comes back to New York. Right? She has a fight. Now she has been disowned by the father. She has broken up with Dante. So Vivian is all alone. Yes. So she just starts working overtime and she's not able to sleep. But she did confront her father. Now she's at this coffee shop where she always buys coffee. And then our Dante comes there. Okay, you know what? I really like Dante from this chapter. Oh god. He just comes there to the coffee shop and orders the coffee. And Vivian is again shocked that what is he doing here? And he looks really handsome. He's wearing nice clothes. He's not wearing his usual suit with tie. No, he's wearing a shirt and the sleeves are rolled up and he looks really handsome. And Vivian is just buying her coffee and Dante, he says, hi, I am Dante. Like they are insinuating like they are meeting for the first time. And Vivian, she's shocked, but she plays along and she's like, hi, I'm Vivian. So Dante says, nice to meet you. He's so cute. He's so cute. Yeah, I will say I like Dante in this chapter. So they're moving out, and then Dante's like, if you're free after this, we can go out. And then Vivian is like, what are you doing, Dante? I know you are Dante, and I am Vivian. So he says, I am trying to work on a relationship like we have met for the first time. So will you go on a date with me? Vivian says yes. It's so cute scene. So they go on a date in a park, right? So there's this park. Now, obviously, because it's Dante Russo, he cleared out the whole space, right? Not the whole park, but the whole space. So Vivian is looking at him and she's like, okay, you cannot do things normally. He said that I just cleared out the space so that we could have a private time. And they do have a private time in the park, in the open. Oh, God. Dante cannot keep his hands to himself, by the way. Yeah, he just cannot. He just sees Vivian, and yes, something happens to his groin. Oh, God. Okay. Well, in the middle of them doing things in the park in the open, she gets a call. She gets a call from her sister, and her sister is panicking. It's like 4 a.m. in the morning where her sister is living, the kingdom of Eldora, whatever. And her sister is panicking that you have to talk to our mother because their mother had a fight with Francis, the father. Mother's name is Cecilia, I think so. And she had a fight with Francis because how dare Francis disown their daughter? How dare he? And how dare he threaten Dante into a wedding? Because, yes, she also didn't know what this Francis did. Yeah, trapped Dante into this wedding. So she is freaking out and she left her house in Boston and went to the sisters, the elder sister's house in Eldora. and she is freaking out. The mother is freaking out. So the elder sister Agnes, she calls Vivian and says that, okay, you have to come here, you have to talk to them, because Francis is also arriving to Eldora to apologize to his wife. I don't think so he will apologize, but Agnes says that they have to meet each other and talk this out and just solve this whole thing because it's getting out of hand. Now, hearing all this, Dante offers that she can take his jet because she's not going to get a flight last moment, so she can take his jet. So Vivian is thinking about it and she is hesitating, but Dante says, if you want me to go with you, I can also come with you so that you're not alone there. Else, if you want to go alone, that you can still use the jet and go there. So Vivian decides to go there with Dante. So there is all this scene. So now we have a scene. They are all in Eldora. Now we have a scene. They are there in Eldora. Okay, where with Vivian's family, is her sister, father, and mother. Now, Vivian is questioning her mother and trying to open up, confronting her parents that they have always tried to do whatever they wanted and they never cared about what Vivian liked. The mother says, no, I really do not like this about Asian mothers. My mom was also like this. She's always criticizing me. Don't do this, you should do this, don't do that. Now, Vivian's mother similarly says that whatever she does, the way she criticizes her and tells her what to do, she is just guiding Vivian so that Vivian becomes a good person. It's for her betterment. No, no, just give some freedom. But no, of course, Asian mothers do not have the word freedom in their dictionary. Okay, coming back to the topic. Oh, God. No, seriously. Coming back to the topic. Well, mom understands it, Vivian's mom, and she says that she will criticize her less now. And she understands that she might have over criticized her, and yes, which has affected Vivian's freedom. The dad, on the other hand, is still angry. He's like, you chose Dante? Yeah, the dad says that you chose Dante over me. So Vivian, she's like, okay, I'm not going to talk to my dad. Now, Dante, obviously, because he loves Vivian, he goes and threatens Francis and says, you will never talk disrespectfully to my fiance. So Francis says, okay, she's not your fiance anymore. And he says, you will know about it. It was so hard. Thank you, Dante. Oh, God. But yeah, he threatens him. You cannot disrespect my fiance anymore. Now they are in this Eldora and they are in the room. So Dante and Vivian have a moment there too. Oh God, I don't know their obsession with doing this in their relative's house. Come on, that is Agnes's house. Yeah, but they do it there, and Dante proposes her. And this time, Dante does not give her the 6 carat diamond ring. He brings a red diamond ring. Yeah, so red diamonds are very rare. So he brings a red diamond ring, which is a family heirloom, and it was passed down from his grandmother to his father for his mother, and now his mother gave it to him for Vivian. So he proposes, and she says yes. And yes, they both get married in their estate in Italy with 250 people. And again, we see a moment between Isabella and Kai. I don't know why he stares her a lot. What happened between them? No spoilers in the comments if you have read it. I will read it. I have bought the book, so I am going to read it. This is the happy ending. They both get married at the end. And yeah, a lot of changes happens with Vivian because what she was initially, she didn't used to say anything. She used to dress up the way her parents wanted. She used to eat the way her parents wanted. She used to act because she was afraid that she will be disowned. Well, once she confronts her father, things changes. Even when he says that he has disowned her, nothing happens. She's like, okay, yeah, I'll live my life. Now, one thing which I really liked was Francis was stripped of all of his duties. Yeah, he is not the one who gives away Vivian on her wedding. It was her mother. Yeah, she chooses her mother. So Francis is furious and obviously a little ashamed. He leaves the wedding beforehand. But yes, Vivian's mother, Cecilia, she gives away Vivian in marriage. And it's so nice. I really like it. Dante's parents, yeah, the free spirited ones, they also attend the wedding. They did not attend the engagement, but they attend the wedding. And everything is happy. Luca is there with his girlfriend, Leaf Green. Oh god, the vegan yoga instructor. Ah, I really don't know why they do this. The wedding scene is really nice. It's the epilogue of the book, and overall, it's a good story. Now, my final thoughts on this story. I loved the story, but this was my first time reading contemporary romance, so everything was predictable. And because everything was predictable, I found it a little boring. I am more into fantasy romance, romantasy, dark romance with thrillers and all. So for me, this was very predictable. You already knew the moment they brought that legacy ball. You already know that this legacy ball is something big, and before that, the big breakup happens. So yeah, I was already able to predict that this legacy ball will be the place where Dante will confess his feelings and try to win her back, and that is what exactly happens. As for the characters, all the characters are written very well. The best character, in my opinion, was Vivian's. She has a very balanced character development. I will say same for Luca. He was like this crazy rich guy in the start, but he changed because of his girlfriend. So again, nice. Dante is very irritating throughout the book. No, no, no. I don't like it. His focus, he's not able to understand his feelings. It's so confusing. He's always dismissing them. I start liking him once he realizes his feelings. Yeah, then he becomes tolerable. I think he could have realized his feelings a little earlier in the book for Vivian and would have acted accordingly. But yeah, the author wanted this way, so okay. Overall, I like the book. For me, it will be a 3.5 stars out of 5. A point 0.5 for Vivian's character because I like it. She is bold. She has this sense of humor, a sarcastic sense of humor, which I really, really liked about her. Whenever you were reading Vivian's point of view, the chapters were entertaining. Whenever you were reading Dante's, it was so boring. Yeah, Dante is boring, sorry. I was a little bored. I was able to complete it in 2 days. It's a light read, it's not a very lengthy book. If you like contemporary romance, the smut scenes are good, but again, a little cringy for me because I skipped the smut scenes. Overall, the book was good. 3.5 stars from me. I enjoyed it. I really like this about the author that their characters have a whole universe, and yes, the characters are introduced in one book and then they continue their story continue in another book. That is why I bought King of Pride and I am thinking of buying Twisted Lies also. This was it for the video and my review. This was the first time I'm reviewing a book. Oh god. Changing my channel's niche to something that I cherish a lot. I love reading books, so yeah, I'm going to yap about it. Share your thoughts with me. Have you read King of Wrath? Did you like it? Who was your favorite character? And also share with me which other books by Anna Huang should I read. Again, I am a romantasy reader. I don't read contemporary romance a lot. This was a fresh start for me. I liked it overall. Now, currently, I am reading Haunting Adeline because I got interested. There is a news that there will be an adaptation by Netflix of Haunting Adeline, so I got interested because this book is hated by all of the book talk, right? And then you have crazy people who love this book a lot, so I wanted to read it. Currently, I'm reading that. We'll make a video soon reviewing Haunting Adeline. So comment down below which other Anna Huang books you want me to read and which one is your favorite from both of her series, the Twisted and the King of Sin series. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first time reviewing a book and I loved it. If you also like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and make sure to turn on that bell button so that you can be notified every time I post a video. This was it for today. I will see you all the next time. Bye.